I was one of the first classrooms to implement SRSD, and in our classroom, we found that the students were really excited about writing, where they used to dread writing. Once we started to implement strategies of SRSD, they really started to enjoy writing more and look forward to it. And I remember them saying, "Yay!" when it was time for writing.
I truly believe that the implementation of SRSD has definitely contributed to our students' academic performance. We began using SRSD about 5 years ago as part of a pilot program and gradually expanded it. And we received positive feedback from the teachers who were involved. They suddenly felt more confident and they were excited about utilizing this approach to enhance their writing instruction. We continue to see such success with this approach. Our teachers were excited to teach writing. They were role playing and dressing up while modeling self-talk statements and promoting positive self-awareness. Our students were setting goals and having conversations with their classmates about ways they could improve their writing. So as you can imagine, this really sparked interest from the other teachers and they wanted to get involved. So this allowed us to turnkey this approach to all of our teachers in grades 3 to 5 the next year, which was approximately 30 teachers. At that point, there was coherence across all classes in grades 3 to 5. Teachers began analyzing their student assessments and differentiating instruction to meet the needs within their classroom. And finally, the following year, we decided to fully expand SRSD to the lower grades and build the foundation at an early age. We knew that if we started with students at an earlier age, we would definitely see the results.
I think the important reasons why they love SRSD is because not only do we front load the strategies in the beginning of the year, but we also promote positivity. Like Ms. Pisano was saying, we are constantly talking about positive self-talk and fostering that independence and positivity through self-talk statements. So they're really a fan of the front loading of the strategies because then they have this toolbox that they can always refer back to throughout the year. And I teach fifth grade. So when I first started, it was definitely a little bit more scaffolded and a lot more hands on and a lot more, I guess, strategic. Whereas now that it's school wide, they're coming to me with 5 years of knowledge or 3 years of knowledge already of SRSD. So now that they've been learning SRSD since they were younger, I can basically build off of those foundational skills and now start to prepare them for when they leave our school, because they leave after fifth grade and they go to middle school. And now, if their middle school doesn't follow the SRSD program, they still have those strategies and they know how to apply it to all different types of prompts and tasks moving forward. I've actually had students come back to me after graduating and they're in middle school now, and they informed me that they don't use SRSD in middle school per se, but they are using the strategy still. They tell me that they're still pulling apart the prompt and using the strategies that we taught them in elementary school. Okay, so when our students started to become more experienced after having had SRSD training for years, and they came up to me in fifth grade, we started opinion writing, and we started to realize that how extremely powerful our voices were and how we can use our voices to persuade others or convince others to agree with their opinion. So they noticed that their textbooks were very damaged, and I don't know if you could tell from the pictures, but they're holding up their damaged textbooks. And they wrote a letter to one of our school aides who handles the book orders, and we used Power and Tree, which is the opinion writing strategies that I taught them, and they basically wrote a persuasive letter to our school aide, Miss Monica, persuading her to give us, basically order new textbooks that weren't damaged, and they gave evidence as to why it impacts their education, and it was really well written. So she wrote them back an email, and then they in fact did receive new books, and then they're pictured here smiling with their new books. Can't see their smiles because I covered their faces, but they're there. And then another example of an experience how SRSD was effective, not only in their writing education, but this is an example of a math task. And I never prompted them to write self-talk on top. They did that on their own. Hashtag I can do it. And I never prompted them to pull apart the prompt. They did that on their own. There's a do what here and a do what here for every math word problem, but they used the strategies of SRSD to promote their positive self-talk and to help them pull apart the prompt. He even wrote a little SRP here, and his tools were PEMDAS as opposed to Power and Tide. And again, this was all independent, and it was just like a really proud moment for me as a teacher, like seeing him apply this to other subjects too. And he did get 100 on this task, just FYI.
Christina and I can go next. We are co-teachers, and when we started SRSD, we were teaching first grade. And with Rosemary's help, we started to plan how our writing unit would look for the year. And before SRSD, it was really tricky. As a teacher, we felt like we didn't have that much structure when it came to writing. It was hard for us to plan, which then made it hard for our kids. We saw their struggles and we struggled too. So when SRSD came and Rosemary was helping us, I was like, wow, like I get it. So my kids are going to get it. And Christina and we started to plan for the whole units. And I think it's so structured for the teachers. And then that comes off to the students. We're well planned, we understand it. So they understood it as well. And we obviously have lower grades. So it's definitely was, I guess, harder than upper grades who already have those writing skills. So we wanted to make it, I guess, easier for our students. So we did change it a little bit. We still use a lot of mnemonics, but we do stick to Tide, POW and Tide only. And we use Tide throughout narrative, opinion, and informational. So we actually want to show you how we use Tide throughout all of our writing pieces.
So one of the most challenging parts of, I think, teaching in the younger level grades is keeping the children engaged, right? So we're always thinking of different ways that we can do that. And when we first started teaching SRSD, we thought, how are we going to get these kids to be engaged? And how are we going to keep their attention? And how are they going to learn these mnemonics, right? So one of the ways that we did that was we said, well, what better way to keep them engaged and to think that writing is fun by creating some kind of song that can help the kids, remember these mnemonics and to get engaged each day. So one day we just decided to think of this song and it took off, and every day before our writing lesson, we would sing it. And we'll show you the video, and it just kind of helped the kids to get excited about what we were doing, but also, again, to help them remember these mnemonics because they are in first grade. So.
So as you can see, the song, it says the mnemonic in it, and we do hand movements. You can't really tell. So now every day when we would start writing, we would just ask them, like, okay, what are we doing today? We did T yesterday, we did T, now what are we doing? So they use the song and like the hand motions to understand the structure of the lessons. Christina, you want to finish?
Yeah, and so our schedule, the way that we did it in first grade was we would have a new prompt each week. And each day we would do a different part of the SRSD, I guess, mnemonic, right? So Monday would be P1 and P2, and Tuesday we would work on our T, and Wednesday RID. So that it was great because not only was it really structured for us and we knew exactly what we did the day prior, but the kids also knew, oh, yesterday we did our topic, today is our important detail. So it worked out really well with that kind of schedule. We modified, a lot of the organizers just to make them more kid friendly, I guess, in the lower grades, and to help them, plan their writing and use the Tide organizer. So we'll show you some of those.
Yeah. So first, for anytime we did like informational writing or response to literature, for topic and ending, we taught them kind of how to restate the sentence by using this is, that is. So now, at least for their topic, they all knew what to do. They would take the prompt, take out the do word, and add in this is. So now this is how Mother Bat and Stella Luna feel when they see each other again. And we would do that every topic. So now they got used to it. So it was kind of, they knew exactly how to do it. And for upper grades, that's kind of how they answer the test questions. They would restate the prompt, right? So we're already teaching them now in first grade, you always restate the prompt. And that went in hand with also our ending. Sorry. And for ending, we would do that is. So we taught them like this is, that is for topic and ending. And we also had a song for that too. It was like, you can get with this or you can get with that for topic and ending. So we felt confident that the students, at least, they know how to do the topic and ending. And we tell them like, you don't really, you can kind of shut off your brain for today because you're just restating, right? You don't have to think so much about the details because you're just restating. And it gave them confidence too, because they knew, they would cross out the do and just do this is, that is. So that was helpful to them. And then also for opinion writing, like we said, we didn't do tree. I know in the upper grades they did it, but we felt that we wanted to stick to Tide. So what we taught them was your T is going to be your opinion. And that is in your middle bubble, is you always get your opinion from your middle. And then your reasons are your outside bubbles in the webs, and those are your ID. So, and then here are some topic sentences that sentence frames that they would add in their toolkits. So for topic, once again, we taught them just cross out the do and add I think or I feel or I like. Here are some important reasons, and then your ending. And here they even have like this is why, and then we restate our topic. Right? This is why I love winter, or this is why my favorite character was Mean Gene. And then for narrative, we also stuck to TIDE. So we taught them that in your topic is where you write your who, what, when. For example, your topic would be one day I went to the beach with my family. And then your IDs are your three details, your what happened, first, next, last. And then the ending, the E is how you felt. So we just stuck to TIDE and we felt that it was really helpful. We were nervous to start adding mnemonics. So we as teachers felt we wanted to stick to TIDE.
I just want to say for the other grades that are on, I love this so much for grade 1. Also for any grade, this is fantastic for personal narrative. Tide works for personal narrative. It took me years to figure this out, but a personal narrative really is, I loved going to grandma's. We took a ride. We had a great time. We drove home. It really follows Tide. It's story arc where you have like a problem, a rising action, climax, solution. That's where you need C space or WW. But this is personal narrative. Tide 100% works here.
And we still tried to use the WWW because we knew in upper grades they were going to be exposed to it. And we also use it when we're retelling the story.
Yes.
So we still wanted to keep the WW,
Perfect.
but make it with Tide. So this is what we came up with. And like we said, Rosemary helped us the whole way when planning. And then Christina, you want to finish?
Yeah, so another thing that we did when they were all done with their writing, they would color code. So their topic would be green, their IDs would be yellow, and their ending would be, green, yellow, and pink. And the kids would self-assess their work using this organizer here. So it's kind of simplified. It just says, did I use a topic sentence? Did I use important details? Did I have capital letters and an ending? And the color coding really helped them to see that, because if they didn't have the green sentence highlighted, they know they didn't do a topic sentence. But another way that they assessed was we did peer editing too. And on their desks, we would have, cookies and milk. So they would know, oh, I'm a cookie, so I go with my partner that's milk. And we grouped them, with a higher student to a student that we know would need more help. And we would pair them together, and they would peer edit each other's work using this same organizer. So it worked really well. They had the pictures on their desk, so they all knew who their partners were. And every time we finished a writing piece, they got excited to do it, right? Because they're getting to work with a friend and talk to them and check over their work. And for first grade, we used the rocket ship also. So it was kind of a good way for them to visually see, did I include all the parts to my writing? And in kindergarten, we use the ice cream cone. So our topic is our cone. And then as the year goes on, we add more scoops. So they'll add another important detail, and we'll have 2 scoops and so on. So these were just some ways that we had scaffolded for the younger grades, but I feel like they could even work in a lot of the upper grades. We teach in an ICT class, so I am the general education teacher and Theodora is the special education teacher. So we found that these tools and these modifications really worked, and SRSD really helped us to be more engaged in doing writing, but it also helped the kids too. We noticed a big improvement in their writing in first grade, and now carrying it over, now they already have that background of what to do when they get into the upper grades.
So my name is Carol Ferrantino. I'm the literacy coach at PS 200, and I just wanted to talk a little bit about how SRSD really does a great job in empowering our students to work more independently. So, the SRSD program really does this by enabling students to have tools and mnemonics to use. And we use these tools and mnemonics on a daily basis. So they're really familiar with this. They know what is expected of them each and every day. And they chant the mnemonics, and they jot them down on their papers, and we use checklists that really just help them and guide them through working independently. Also, our writing prompts are directly aligned to the text that we're reading in our literacy block. So we worked really hard to make sure that we created prompts that students can use the text that they're reading and find details from to be able to put into their writing pieces. So, we really worked on creating maps that help them do that. And in trying to bring in advanced literacy into our school and using the read, talk, write cycle, we've been trying to have, before students go off to write independently, we have our students talk with each other about what they're going to put in their organizers and what they're going to write about in their essays. And, this really helps them. When they're working in groups, it helps them. If they were stuck, now they have something that maybe they can put into their organizer that they didn't have before. So we really want to try to make sure that we enable our students to work together. Even though they're working independently and they have independent work to do, they also have that opportunity to work in groups and have discussions about what they're going to write. So I think that's also really helpful. And then one thing is that we also made some modifications where we decided to really use our data from cold writes and collaborative writes to guide our instruction. So we teach our writing block, especially in the upper grades, is more small group based, because we have students who we feel can do certain parts of TIDE independently. So we want to work with the students who need extra support based on cold writes and performance tasks. So we work with them in a small group, and we allow our other students who feel like they can do it on their own, we let them go off and work independently. So I don't know, Rosemary, do you want to pull up how we separate our kids using our data?
Sure.
Also, while Rose doing that, sorry, I just wanted to add on what Carol was saying, how we can add all these modifications. I feel like SRSD, it's an approach that, and I love that the teachers get a lot of freedom. Like you said, like we can change it, we can modify it. We pick the prompts. Like I like that you don't say, this is what you have to answer, this is what you have to write. We had the freedom, we got to use our books, we got to write our prompts. If we didn't feel like it worked one year, the next year we can change it. I just love that it gives a lot of freedom to the teachers.
Right. And that's what I was going to say also, because in addition to some of the teachers in our school, we have a very large school. So some of the teachers love the freedom, and some of the teachers are like, wait, what are we doing now? Like, where's the textbook that tells me what I have to say and what I have to teach and how I have to teach it, especially the newer teachers. So that's why Carol thought of this idea to use the data to give them exactly what a mini lesson structure should look like. This way we have a structure to follow, and we used the teacher's guide structure to help us come up with this mini lesson format. This way the teachers had an idea of what to do on a day-to-day basis.
So basically you're scaffolding the teachers as well, which this should do technically, but you're also helping them when they're new, you're guiding them through how to use it.
Right, because the 8 routines are very explicit, and then the teachers are like, okay, now what, you know? So that's why we gave them this format to follow after the 8 routines were front loaded.
Fantastic.
So basically, we create 2 different prompts. We have a modeling prompt, and then we have a independent student prompt. So each day, the teacher will model the skill of the day with the students who are not proficient in that area. And we figure that out based on our Coles Right or performance task data. The students who we feel like, their data showed that they got it on this last assessment, we let them go off and we let them try to do it independently using their own independent prompts. So the students that the teachers modeled with, like after we model with them, then we allow them to go back and try it with their student prompt as well. So that's a different prompt than the one we're modeling with. So we let them go and work on that prompt. And at that time, that's when we can go and check in and conference with the children we had working independently from the beginning of the lesson. So they're not, we do go and we go check on them and see if they need any support throughout the lesson. And then we would end the lesson as a whole group. We wrap up, all the students can share, their work and ideas for the day. So it's a really great structure for, like you said, for the teachers too. It helps, guide the 30-minute lesson. So if you go to the next slide, Rosemarie. I just want to show you how we group our students. So this is an example of an assessment grouping sheet. So basically we divide it into the different parts of power and tide. So we'll have our planning, we have our organizing for topic introduction, important evidence, detailed examination, our ending conclusion. We put revising and editing on there. So we take this, and as we're grading our Coles Rights or performance tasks, we think about which kids need support in which areas, and we jot that down. So if we notice that in one area, more than 60% of the class really struggled with one part on that Coles Right or performance task, then we know we need to do this as a whole group lesson. But otherwise, we can really target the students in smaller groups in this way. And I think it fosters that independence for the students that do know how to do it. They don't have to sit through, a routine again or something they're comfortable doing. So it enables them to work on their own.
And then, like Carol said, this is just the power and tide. So this is just a sample assessment guide. If we realize that a lot of kids or a group of kids struggled with linking words or struggled with something like that, more minor like that, like those 1-point grammar and conventions on the bottom, then we can focus on those lessons after. These are just more important, and then the smaller mini lessons can come later on.
I just wanted
And-
to add too, like there's always a push to use the assessment to drive instruction, but sometimes that's easier said than done, especially when you're following such a scripted writing program. So this has been like amazing for the teachers to really use the students' work to drive their instruction. Like they're actually analyzing their assessments and then they're creating the lessons based on their assessments. So it really is, teaching the teachers how to teach writing, how to really use the students' work and really teach to their own classes. So it's really difficult for them to share lesson plans, because their classes look different. So they really can't share like a lesson plan. I mean, they can share ideas and they can share ways to like enhance their writing and, build on certain aspects of the organization, but they can't follow the same lesson every single day as, maybe it was something that we were doing in the past when we were following the lesson straight from the textbook.
Then there's no differentiation.
Right. There wasn't. And honestly, even if we tried, or teachers tried, there was no time because they had to go to the next lesson. And it was like, just keep moving, but never really, stopping to really see what their kids needed. So,
Wow.
I think that was the part about this approach that we loved the most, because the teachers really had the ownership. They were using the students' work. They were actually talking about the students' writing. They were analyzing their results. We created spreadsheets where we really broke it down so we can see like specifically how did the students score in their topic, how did they score in their details, and you can see across the spreadsheet, how did my class do as a whole, how did individual students perform, and pull groups based on that in a clear way.
And just to piggyback off Ms. Massano, the spreadsheets and these grouping sheets really enable teachers to be able to talk about their students' strengths and weaknesses, whereas in the past they might not have been able to, but it's very structured and broken down into the different parts of Power and Tide. And we can see what they really, what are their grows and what are their glows.
Okay.
Right, within each unit, we have one cold write and one performance task. So it depends on how many units, we get through, but it's at least
4 plus 3.
Plus, right.
I definitely think SRSD fosters independence and promotes independence, especially with the self-talk aspect. And I actually have an example of a self-talk statement board that we used in my 5th grade classroom that I'm going to share. Yes. So as I've gotten better and more experienced with the SRSD methodology, I realized that self-talk statements are more than just I can do this or you got this. It has to be more action-based. So I can do this by, or I believe I can be a better writer by, and they have to include a strategy or something that they're going to use to help them, make that self-talk statement come true. And this example, I like showing this example because each of these speech bubbles are dry erase. So throughout the year, they go and erase their statement from September, and then they'll add a different self-talk statement. So as they learn more writing strategies throughout the year and have had more practice with SRSD, they add on to their self-talk statements, or they revise their self-talk statements, or they completely change their self-talk statements because they grow too as writers. So they'll add a different strategy that they learned, and their self-talk statements become more sophisticated as they become more sophisticated writers. So I think that it shouldn't just be like, a random statement, but something that evolves as they evolve as writers. And then another reason that they find comfort in this program is because, like Ms. Massano said, when we first started SRSD, we would do some role play. So this is an example of how my co-teacher and I and another co-teaching team on the bottom right used to dress up, and we called ourselves Penny and Jenny, and we were students. So we showed them what it was like to be students. We kind of gave them the mindset of a student, and we would talk as if we were students. And then they had that they were able to relate to us. And then we showed them how to turn it back to writing and how to turn their video game brains back into the classroom, or, you know, what's for lunch, or can I use the bathroom, back into, you know, we show them how to redirect themselves. And it's comical, but it really does work. And it also promoted that positivity throughout the school, because they would hear about it, because, you know, kids talk, and they would say, I can't wait to meet Penny and Jenny in 5th grade. So this is something that also we found helped promote positivity in the writing program.
Is that Eliza?
That is, we miss her.
Yeah.
I am so blown away by your team.
So blown away.
You guys are really exceptional teachers.